Sawubona, yibo, sawubona. Sorry, y'all. Had to run to get my mouse. I work on 2 different laptops. One for work, one for everything else. And I needed to get another one. It should arrive today. And I keep having to switch between my mice. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot to get it. I just realized as soon as I hit live. Okay. Let me go ahead and get YouTube going up here. Okay. Nikki. Hey, girl. Hey. Greetings. Live. Okay. Okay, y'all had to do like the little. I see y'all. I know y'all see me pausing like what I just did. I had to do like a thumbnail. So, okay, let's see. Are we rolling? Okay, we rolling now. We live on YouTube. Okay, I'm sorry. It makes me freeze for a thumbnail, so that's why. That's why. Great rising, Shayla. Okay, y'all. We're reading the last 3 chapters of Exodus today. Actually, it's 40 chapters. What am I talking about? We got 1 chapter left. We'll read that one tomorrow when we add it. We'll add that into Leviticus. Because Exodus chapters, they be running kind of long. Okay, beautiful people. Pick up that. Two. Okay, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, January 19, 2021, and we are on day 55 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 724. All right, y'all, so today we're reading Exodus 37, 38, and 39, and we're going to read the last chapter of Exodus tomorrow. We're going to add it to Leviticus. Shalom, shalom, Mom. Okay, y'all, so let's go ahead and get started with the Shema. And then we're gonna start rolling so we can get a few things read today, right? Okay. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, I was up reading the Book of Remembrance, the wisdom of the ancient grandmothers, guys. I'm telling y'all, so good. And the part that wasn't read, I could see before that they meant to read the last few chapters, because as you're watching what's recorded, it's as it's progressing through the different chapters and stuff, it says chapter 1 of 12 or chapter 5 of 12, but the last one they have is chapter 6 of 12. That's where it ends. So them last 6 chapters are missing in action. Either they never got around to recording it, or somehow those videos were deleted and nobody has caught it yet and added them back up there. So if you don't have that, like I recommended yesterday, I really recommend that you get it, because also the part that I got into yesterday is it starts talking about how the Dekadar Choi, or the evil spirits, or those who were walking in they were working with like the evil spirits and stuff, people worshiping Satan and everything. It started talking about how their rituals use blood and human sacrifice and stuff, and we read about that, and Yahuwah tells us not to do what the other nations does, but it gives some detail on that, and it's quite interesting, people. And it even goes into, matter of fact, there's quite a few sentences. Yahuwah brings it out in Leviticus, how husbands and wives, men and women, are not to have intercourse while the woman is on her cycle, her menstrual cycle, that's also something that, it was so disgusting. It's something that's used by the fallen angels or the demon spirits, people who work with them, allow them to possess them and do their work in the land. It's gross, y'all, but they actually use blood from women's menstrual cycles. Just get the book, I'm telling you. And as you read some of the stuff that was happening, you will see exactly why Yahuwah was very, very specific about the things that we were not to do. Even with eating the unclean foods, y'all. Oh my G. So a lot of people that say, oh, it's good, just bless it. You can eat the pork and all the unclean meats. Oh, y'all are missing information. Y'all are so misinformed. I'm telling you. Okay. So I'm telling you, don't do it. And if something happened and all that's left is pig to eat, you better learn. I would venture to say you had better go on a fast than rather put pig meat or unclean meats in your mouth. Once you read what's in there in that book, that gives you detail on why Yahuwah said it is unclean for you, do not do it. Like there was a whole ritual and sacrifice that was being done in the lands using like unclean meats and unclean animals and stuff, y'all. It just blows my mind. So as we learn, we not only do we walk in faith, we just start obeying. We just start obeying y'all because he said. And sometimes we may not always understand the details to it, but as we begin to understand some of the details, we begin to walk in the spirit and in truth. And it's like, yep, nope, not turning that way. And if you know what's good for you, you would not do it either. This is the way. Walk ye in it, right? Okay. Shema. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel. This means, pay attention. Y'all, can I get y'all attention? Everybody, shh, I need y'all to quiet down. Listen up. Israel, pay attention. Hear, O Israel, or Shema. Shema means listen. Listen, pay attention. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. Remember, hand represents action. Here, keep it as frontlets between your eyes. Between these things is your thoughts. Your thoughts drives your action. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God as he has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. Let's go ahead. Let's not delay any further. Let's go ahead and pull up Exodus so we can read this and then get into the legends of the Jews to pick up the story from the plagues. Bible Gateway. Exodus 37. Boom. Okay. There we go. All right, y'all. Exodus 37. Next, Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood, a sacred chest 45 inches long, 27 inches wide, and 27 inches high. He overlaid it inside and outside with pure gold, and he ran a molding of gold all around it. Hold on, y'all. Did I read 37 last night? It seemed like I read 37. Hold on. No, I don't Nice skippity days. 28, 29, 30, 31, 36, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Okay, I know we read about it's just repeating. Okay. He overlaid it inside and outside with pure gold, and he ran a molding of gold all around it. He cast 4 rings and attached them to its 4 feet, 2 rings on each side. Then he made poles from acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He inserted the poles into the rings at the side of the ark to carry it. Then he made the ark's cover, the place of atonement, from pure gold. It was 45 inches long and 27 inches wide. He made 2 cherubim from hammered gold and placed them on the 2 ends of the atonement cover. He molded the cherubim on each end of the atonement cover, making it all of one piece of gold. The cherubim faced each other and looked down on the atonement cover with their wings spread above it. They protected. Then Bezalel made the table of acacia wood, 36 inches long, 18 inches wide, and 27 inches high. He overlaid it with pure gold and ran a gold molding around the edge. He decorated it with a 3-inch border all around, and he ran a gold molding along the border. Then he cast 4 rings for the table and attached them at the 4 corners next to the 4 legs. The rings were attached near the border to hold the poles that were used to carry the table. He made these poles from acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. Then he made special containers of pure gold for the table, bowls, ladles, jars, and pitchers to be used in pouring out liquid offerings. Then Bezalel made the lampstand of pure hammered gold. He made the entire lampstand and its decorations of one piece, the base, center stem, lamps, cups, buds, and petals. The lampstand had 6 branches going out from the center stem, 3 on each side. Each of the 6 branches had 3 lamp cups shaped like almond blossoms, complete with buds and petals. The center stem of the lampstand was crafted with 4 lamp cups shaped like almond blossoms, complete with buds and petals. There was an almond bud beneath each pair of branches, where the 6 branches extended from the center stem, all made of one piece. The almond buds and the branches were all of one piece with the center stem, and they were all hammered from pure gold. He also made 7 lamps for the lampstands, lamp snuffers, and trays, all of pure gold. The entire lampstand, along with its accessories, was made from 75 pounds of pure gold. Then Bezalel made the incense altar of acacia wood. It was 18 inches square and 36 inches high, with horns at the corners carved from the same piece of wood as the altar itself. He overlaid the top, sides, and horns of the altar with pure gold, and he ran a gold molding around the altar. He made 2 gold rings and attached them on the opposite sides of the altar below the gold molding to hold the carrying poles. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. Then he made the sacred anointing oil and the fragrant incense using the techniques of a skilled incense maker. Okay, y'all. Exodus 38. Next, Bezalel used acacia wood to construct the square altar of burnt offering. It was 7.5 feet wide, 7.5 feet long, and 4.5 feet high. He made horns for each of its 4 corners so that the horns and the altar were all one piece. He overlaid the altar with bronze. Then he made all the altar utensils of bronze, the ash buckets, shovels, basins, meat forks, and fire pans. Next, he made a bronze grating and installed it halfway down on the side of the altar under the ledge. He cast 4 rings and attached them to the corners of the bronze grating to hold the carrying poles. He made the poles from acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. He inserted the poles through the rings on the sides of the altar. The altar was hollow and made from planks. Bezalel made the bronze wash basin and its bronze stand from bronze mirrors donated by the women who served at the entrance of the tabernacle. Then Bezalel made the courtyard, which was enclosed with curtains made of finely woven linen. On the south side, the curtains were 150 feet long. They were held up by 20 posts set securely in bronze bases. He hung the curtains with silver hooks and rings. He made a similar set of curtains for the north side, 150 feet of curtains held up by 20 posts set securely in bronze bases. He hung the curtains with silver hooks and rings. The curtains on the west end of the courtyard were 75 feet long, hung with silver hooks and rings, and supported by 10 posts set into 10 bases. The east end, the front, was also 75 feet long. The courtyard entrance was on the east end, flanked by 2 curtains. The curtain on the right side was 22.5 feet long and was supported by 3 posts set into 3 bases. The curtain on the left side was also 22.5 feet long and was supported by the 3 posts set into 3 bases. All the curtains used in the courtyard were made of finely woven linen. Each post had a bronze base, and all the hooks and rings were silver. The tops of the posts of the courtyard were overlaid with silver, and the rings to hold up the curtains were made of silver. He made the curtains for the entrance to the courtyard of finely woven linen, and he decorated it with beautiful embroidery in blue, purple, and scarlet thread. It was 30 feet long, and its height was 7.5 feet, just like the curtains of the courtyard walls. It was supported by 4 posts, each set securely in its own bronze base. The tops of the posts were overlaid with silver, and the hooks and rings were also made of silver. All the tent pegs used in the tabernacle in the courtyard were made of bronze. This is an inventory of the materials used in the building, the tabernacle of the covenant. The Levites compiled the figures as Moses directed, and Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest, served as recorder. Bezalel, son of Uri, grandson of Hur of the tribe of Judah, made everything just as Yahuwah had commanded Moses. He was assisted by Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan, a craftsman expert at engraving, designing, and embroidering with blue, purple, and scarlet thread of fine linen cloth. The people brought special offerings of gold totaling 2,193 pounds, as measured by the weight of the sanctuary shekel. This gold was used throughout the tabernacle. The whole community of Israel gave 7,545 pounds of silver, as measured by the weight of the sanctuary shekel. This silver came from the tax collected from each man registered in the census. The tax is 1 beka, which is half a shekel, based on the sanctuary shekel. The tax collected from 600. Hold on. Make sure I say this number right. Hold on. 603. Wait. Hold on. 600,000. No. 6. Okay, I got it right, y'all. I'll brain fart for a minute, and you would think, girl, get yourself together. 603,550 men who had reached their 20th birthday. Ooh, boy. The 100 bases for the frames of the sanctuary wells and for the posts supporting the inner curtain required 75,000 pounds of silver, about 75 pounds for each base. The remaining 45 pounds of silver was used to make the hooks and rings and to overlay the tops of the posts. The people brought as a special offering 5,310 pounds of bronze, which was used for casting the bases for the posts at the entrance of the tabernacle, and for the bronze altar with its bronze grating and all the altar utensils. Bronze was also used to make the bases for the posts that supported the curtains around the courtyard, the bases for the curtain at the entrance of the courtyard, and all the tent pegs for the tabernacle at the courtyard. You said the audio. Oh, I'm glad you said something, Shayla. Could y'all hear me over here? My volume was down over here. I'm sorry. I'm glad you said something. Okay, y'all. Exodus. I'm sorry. That was the next chapter. Exodus 39. The craftsman made beautiful sacred garments of blue and scarlet cloth, clothing for Aaron to wear while ministering in the holy place, just as Yahuwah had commanded Moses. Bezalel made the ephod of finely woven linen and embroidered it with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet thread. He made gold thread by hammering out thin sheets of gold and cutting it into fine strands. With great skill and care, he worked it into the fine linen with blue, purple, and scarlet thread. The ephod consisted of 2 pieces, front and back, joined at the shoulders with 2 pieces. The decorative sash was made of the same materials, finely woven linen, embroidered with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, just as Yahuwah commanded Moses. They mounted the 2 onyx stones in settings of gold filigree. The stones were engraved with the names of the tribes of Israel, just as a seal is engraved. He fastened these stones on the shoulder piece of the ephod as a reminder that the priest represents the people of Israel. All this was done just as Yahuwah had commanded Moses. Bezalel made the chest piece with great skill and care. He made it to match the ephod using finely woven linen embroidered with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet thread. He made the chest piece of a single piece of cloth, folded to form a pouch 9 inches square. They mounted 4 rows of gemstones on it. The first row contained a red carnelian, a pale green peridot, and an emerald. The second row contained a turquoise, a blue lapis lazuli, and a white moonstone. The third row contained an orange jacinth, an agate, and a purple amethyst. The fourth row contained a blue-green beryl, an onyx, and a green jasper. All of these stones were set in gold filigree. Each stone represented one of the 12 sons of Israel, and the name of that tribe was engraved on it like a seal. To attach the chest piece to the ephod, they made braided cords of pure gold thread. They also made 2 settings of gold filigree and 2 gold rings and attached them to the top corners of the chest piece. They tied 2 gold cords to the rings on the chest piece. They tied the other ends of the cords to the gold settings on the shoulder pieces of the ephod. And then they made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the inside edges of the chest piece next to the ephod. Then they made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the front of the ephod below the shoulder pieces, just as the knot where the decorative sash was fashioned to the ephod. They attached the bottom rings of the chest piece to the rings on the ephod with blue cords. In this way, the chest piece was held securely to the ephod above the decorative sash. All this was done just as Yahuwah commanded Moses. Bezalel made a robe that is worn with the ephod from a single piece of blue woven cloth with an opening for Aaron's head in the middle of it. The opening was reinforced with a woven collar so it would not tear. They made pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and attached them to the hem of the robe. They also made bells of pure gold and placed them between the pomegranates along the hem of the robe, with bells and pomegranates alternating all around the hem. This robe was to be worn whenever the priest ministered before Yahuwah, just as Yahuwah commanded Moses. They made tunics for Aaron and his sons from fine linen cloth. The turban and the special head coverings were made of fine linen, and the undergarments were also made of fine woven linen. The sashes were made of finely woven linen and embroidered with blue, purple, and scarlet thread, just as Yahuwah had commanded Moses. Finally, they made the sacred medallion, the badge of holiness, of pure gold. They engraved it like a seal with these words, "Holy to Yahuwah." They attached the medallion with a blue cord to Aaron's turban, just as Yahuwah had commanded Moses. So at last, the tabernacle was finished. The Israelites had done everything just as Yahuwah had commanded Moses, and they brought the entire tabernacle to Moses. The sacred tent with all its furnishings, clasps, frames, crossbars, posts, and bases, the tent coverings of tanned ram skins and fine goat skin leather, the inner curtain to shield the ark of the covenant and its carrying poles, the ark's cover, which is the place of atonement, the table and all its utensils, the bread of the presence, the pure gold lampstand with all its symmetrical lamp cups and all its accessories, and the olive oil for lighting the gold altar, the anointing oil, the anointing oil and fragrant incense, the curtain for the entrance of the sacred tent, the bronze altar, the bronze grating and its carrying poles and utensils, the wash basin with its stand, the curtains for the walls of the courtyard, the posts and their bases, the curtains for the entrance of the courtyard, the ropes and the tent pegs, all the furnishings to be used in the worship at the tabernacle, the beautifully stitched garments for the priest to wear while ministering in the holy place, the sacred garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments for his sons to wear as they minister as priests. So the people of Israel follow all Yahuwah's instructions to Moses. That Moses inspected all their work. When he found that it had been done just as Yahuwah had commanded him, he blessed them. Okay, beautiful people. All right, so let's go ahead on over and jump over to the Legends of the Jews and pick up where we left off yesterday. If you got the same book, I got the same size. We are on page 239. If you have the smaller book, it is volume 2, in the section entitled The Passover. Remember, we left off yesterday talking about some more of the details of the 3 days of darkness, of which we found out it was actually 7 days completely. The first 3 days it was dark, but it wasn't as dark as the next 3 days. The next 3 days, days 4, 5, and 6, was a darkness you could feel, like a tangible darkness where you were suspended, and if the darkness fell and you were standing, you remained standing for those 3 days. If you were found sitting for 3 days, if you were found sitting when a darkness fell, you remain there. If you just happen to be taking a bath, sitting in water, there you remain those 3 days of darkness, right? Okay. And then we know the last day of darkness fell while they were at the Red Sea, right by the water. Okay, so the first Passover. When the time approached, and according to the promise made to Abraham, his children would be redeemed, it was seen that they had no pious deeds to their credit, for the sake of which they deserved release from bondage. Yahuwah therefore gave them 2 commandments, one bidding them to sacrifice the Passover lamb, and one to circumcise their sons. Along with the first, they received the calendar in use among the Jews, for the Passover feast is to be celebrated on the 15th day of the month of Nisan, and with this month the year is to begin. But the computations for the calendar are so involved that Moses could not understand them until Yahuwah showed him the movements of the moon plainly. Ooh, what I tell y'all? Didn't I tell y'all the calendar and moon and stuff like that? I'm telling y'all, listen. But the computations for the calendar are so involved that Moses could not understand them until Yahuwah showed him the movements of the moon plainly. There were 3 other things equally difficult, which Moses could comprehend only after Yahuwah made him to see them plainly. They were the compounding of the holy anointing oil, the construction of the candlestick in the tabernacle, and the animals, the flesh of which is permitted and prohibited. And then we just talking about this. Just for a quick second, I mentioned it, that they talk about it in detail in the Book of Remembrance, the ancient wisdom of the wisdom of our ancient grandmothers, right? Okay, let me read this again. Let me just go back up 2 sentences. But the computations for the calendar are so involved that Moses could not understand them until Yahuwah showed him the movements of the moon plainly. There were 3 other things equally difficult, which Moses could comprehend only after Yahuwah made him to see them plainly. They were the compounding of the holy anointing oil, the construction of the candlestick in the tabernacle, and the animals, the flesh of which is permitted and prohibited. Also, the determination of the new moon was the subject of special divine teaching. That Moses might know the exact procedure, Yahuwah appeared to him in a garment with fringes upon its corners, bade Moses to stand at his right hand and Aaron at his left. Then, citing Michael and Gabriel as witnesses, he addressed searching questions to the angels as to how the moon had seemed to them. Then Yahuwah addressed Moses and Aaron, saying, "Thus shall my children proclaim the new moon on the testimony of 2 witnesses through the president of the court." Ain't that what we just did? Like, we're out there. That's why I was like, if y'all see it, sure, we got witnesses. This is how Yahuwah saying we are to watch and see that the new month comes in by the movements of the moon. And Yahuwah actually, you know how I be giving y'all examples. I give y'all like verbal examples so y'all can picture it in your head. Yahuwah had to do the same thing we see here with Moses, and he used 2 of the angels, Michael and Gabriel, using them as a witness. He said, these are witnesses, they watching. Okay, Moses said, and this is how it happens. Pay attention, right? And so they walked through the example so he could understand. Then voila, there we go. Okay, I'll read that part again. Also, the determination of the new moon was the subject of special divine teaching. That Moses might know the exact procedure, Yahuwah appeared to him in a garment with fringes upon its corners, bade Moses stand at his right hand and Aaron at his left. And then, citing Michael and Gabriel as witnesses, he addressed searching questions to the angels as to how the new moon had seemed to them. Then Yahuwah addressed Moses and Aaron, saying, "Thus shall my children proclaim the new moon on the testimony of 2 witnesses and through the president of the court." When Moses appeared before the children of Israel and delivered the divine message to them, telling them that their redemption would come about in this month of Nisan, they said, "How is it possible that we should be redeemed? Is not the whole of Egypt full of our idols? And we have no pious deeds to show, making us worthy of redemption." Moses made reply and said, "As Yahuwah desires your redemption, he pays no heed to your idols. He passes them by. Nor does he look upon your evil deeds, but only upon the good deeds of the pious among you." Ooh, saved by the righteous, saved by the bill. Yahuwah would not indeed have delivered Israel if they had not abandoned their idol worship. Unto this purpose, he commanded them to sacrifice the Passover lamb. Thus they were to show that they had given up the idolatry of the Egyptians, consisting in the worship of the ram. Remember? They were. Remember I told y'all? I use my own example. I say, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make y'all kill the god of Egypt, right? I want y'all to kill their lamb, and then I want you to eat it. Listen, that's what it just said in those words, right? I was just giving like a fun example for you to picture, right? But listen to this. Unto this purpose, he commanded them to sacrifice the Passover lamb. Thus, they were to show that they had given up idolatry of the Egyptians, consisting in the worship of the ram. Like, we're no longer going to worship this lamb anymore. I need you to kill it. I need you to cut it. It's time for you to cut it, right? Let's go. The early law was different from the practice of later times, for they were bidden to select their sacrificial animal 4 days before the appointment for the offering, and to designate it publicly as such to show that they did not stand in awe of the Egyptians. With a heavy heart, the Egyptians watched the preparation of the Israelites for sacrificing the animals they worship. Sometimes I just gotta stop and do a jig, because I'm like, surely, Father, it is you who has revealed these things to me. And then when I read it, I just get super excited, right? I really do, y'all. I really do. I'm going to just read it again, let me just go back up, because it's so good. It's so good. Listen. Unto this purpose, he commanded them to sacrifice the Passover lamb. Thus they were to show that they had given up the idolatry of the Egyptians, consisting in the worship of the ram. The early law was different from the practice of later times, for they were bidden to select their sacrificial animal 4 days before the day appointed for the offering, and to designate it publicly to show that they did not stand in awe of the Egyptians. With a heavy heart, the Egyptians watched the preparations of the Israelites for sacrificing the animals they worshiped. Yet they did not dare interpose an objection, and when the time came for the offering to be made, the children of Israel could perform the ceremonies without a tremor, seeing that they knew through many days' experience that the Egyptians feared to approach them with hostile intent. There was another practice connected with the slaughter of the Passover lamb that was to show the Egyptians how little the Israelites feared them. They took the blood of the animal and openly... Let me tell you something. The Most High is so good. He is so good. He is so good. He is so good. Listen to this. Y'all remember my example that I gave? I said, we're going to eat your gods, and then we're going to take the blood and smear it on our doors. Now what? What you going to do? This is exactly what was happening. And I just like, that example just like, listen, oh gosh, this is so good. Listen, there was another practice connected with the slaughter of the Passover lamb that was to show the Egyptians how little the Israelites feared them. They took of the blood of the animal and openly put it on the side 2 posts and on the lintel of the doors of their houses. Moses communicated the laws regulating the Passover sacrifice to the elders, and they in turn made them known to the people at large. The elders were commended for having supported the leader at his first appearance, for their faith in Moses caused the whole people to adhere to him at once. Therefore Yahuwah spake, saying, I will reward the elders for inspiring the people with confidence in Moses. They shall have the honor of delivering Israel. They shall lead the people to the Passover sacrifice They shall lead the people to the Passover sacrifice, and through this the redemption will be brought about. The ceremonies connected with the Passover sacrifice had the purpose of conveying instruction to Israel about the past and the future alike. The blood put on the 2 side posts and on the lintel of their doors was to remind them of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the bunch of hyssop for sprinkling the blood on the doors was to imply that although Israel's position among the people of the earth is as lowly as that of the hyssop among the plants, yet this little nation is bound together like the bunch of hyssop, for it is Yahuwah's peculiar treasure. The Passover sacrifice afforded Moses the opportunity for inducing the children of Israel to submit themselves to circumcision, which many had refused to do until then, in spite of his urgent appeals. But Yahuwah has means of persuasion. He caused a wind to blow that wafted the sweet scent of paradise towards Moses' Passover lamb, and the fragrance penetrated to all parts of Egypt and to the distance of a 40 days journey. The people were attracted in crowds to Moses' lamb and desired to partake of it. Just think about it. Ooh, Moses, what's that? Ooh, let me get a little piece. What's that? Oh my gosh. What you cooking? Can I have some? I ain't never had that kind before. That's what was going on. Yahuwah said he made the sweet scent from paradise to fall upon the Passover lamb that Moses himself had picked out, and he caused the fragrance to spread in all directions at a 40-mile radius. And it got everybody's attention. Think about when you're driving outside and somebody cooking something on the grill, like, ooh, somebody grilling out, ooh. What's that? Oh, you come in the house. Oh my God, what is that? Oh, can we eat yet? Can I tell you something? Just get a little piece. You better put that spoon down. You know what I'm saying? That's what was going on, y'all. Listen, I'll just go back up. The Passover sacrifice afforded Moses the opportunity for inducing the children of Israel to submit themselves to circumcision, which many had refused to do until then, in spite of his urgent appeals. But Yahuwah has means of persuasion. He caused a wind to blow that wafted the sweet scents of paradise towards Moses' Passover lamb, and the fragrance penetrated to all parts of Egypt to the distance of a 40 days journey. What did I say, 40 miles? A 40 days journey. The people were attracted in crowds to Moses' lamb and desired to partake of it. But he said, "This is the command of Yahuwah. No uncircumcised person shall eat thereof." And they all decided to undergo the circumcision. When Yahuwah passed through the land of Egypt, he blessed every Israelite for his fulfillment of the two commands, the command of the Passover sacrifice and the command regarding the circumcision. And here's that great miracle, y'all. Listen to this. Listen to this. This just blew my mind. Listen. Yahuwah performed a great miracle for the Israelites. As no sacrifice may be eaten beyond the borders of the Holy Land, all the children of Israel were transported thither on clouds, and after they had eaten the sacrifice, they were carried back to Egypt in the same way. Y'all see what just happened here? During his first Passover meal, Yahuwah himself transported by clouds all the nation, all the children of Israel to the Holy Land for this moment to eat it, because it's a requirement that we eat it only within the borders, right? We eat it within the borders of the Holy Land, and to keep to his commands that he gave us, you can say he teleported all of them. Here we go. We're going to eat, and I'm going to take y'all back here to where y'all was at. He transported them by clouds to the Holy Land. They partook of the Passover lamb. They ate dinner together. They broke bread. And after they was done, he took them back. Listen, I'll read it again. Then we'll read on to the next section. Yahuwah performed a great miracle for the Israelites. As no sacrifice may be eaten beyond the borders of the Holy Land, all the children of Israel were transported thither on clouds. And after they had eaten the sacrifice, they were carried back to Egypt in the same way. Whose head is that? Joshua? Josiah? Isaiah? The both of you.
Get off of it.
Thank you. So you got. Okay, looking for what? Box truck?
For my truck, yeah, the box truck. Just finish the
Okay. Y'all know better. Put yourselves together. Get your schoolwork done first. They be trying. Y'all be trying. Okay, next section. What time we at? Okay. When Moses announced the slaying of the firstborn, the designated victims all repaired to their fathers and said, "Whatever Moses hath foretold has been fulfilled. Let the Hebrews go, else we shall all die." But the fathers replied, "It is better for one of every 10 of us to die than the Hebrews should execute their purpose." Then the firstborn repaired to Pharaoh to induce him to dismiss the children of Israel. So far from granting their wish, he ordered his servants to fall upon the firstborn and beat them, to punish them for their presumptuous demand. Seeing that they could not accomplish their end by gentle means, they attempted to bring it about by force. Pharaoh and all that opposed the wishes of the firstborn were of the opinion that the loss of so inconsiderable a percentage of the population was a matter of small moment. They were mistaken in their calculation, for the divine decree included not only the firstborn sons, but also the firstborn daughters, and not only the firstborn of the marriages then existing, but also the firstborn issuing from previous alliances of the fathers and the mothers, and the Egyptians led dissolute lives. It happened not rarely that each of the 10 children of the one woman was the firstborn of its father. Let me read that again. I'm going to go back. Yes, the Passover lamb was a smack in the face of Egypt, not the foreshadowing of Yeshua's death. You're right. You hit it nail on the head, Dana. Okay, listen. Okay. Pharaoh and all that opposed the wishes of the firstborn were of the opinion that the loss of so inconsiderable a percentage of the population was a matter of small moment, they were mistaken in their calculation. For the divine decree included not only the firstborn sons, but also the firstborn daughters, and not only the firstborn of the marriages then existing, but also the firstborn issuing from previous alliances of the fathers and the mothers. And as the Egyptians led dissolute lives, it happened not rarely that each of the 10 children of one woman was the firstborn of its father. Ooh. Finally, Yahuwah decreed that death should smite the oldest member of every household, whether or not he was the firstborn of his parents. What Yahuwah resolves is executed. At the exact instant marking the middle of the night, so precise that only Yahuwah himself could determine and discern it, he appeared in Egypt, attended by 9,000 myriads of angels of destruction, who are fashioned, some of hail and some of flames, and whose glances drive terror and trembling to the heart of the beholder. These angels were about to precipitate themselves into the work of annihilation, but Yahuwah restrained them, saying, "My wrath will not be appeased until I myself execute judgment upon the enemies of Israel." Whoo, bruh, he coming. He is coming. Those among the Egyptians who gave credence to Moses' words and tried to shield their firstborn children from death sent them to their Hebrew neighbors to spend the fateful night with them. They're like, we got to get out of here. Listen, everything Moses has said has come to pass. Listen, I'm a firstborn. You a firstborn. You a firstborn. I think that the only way we may be saved is we need to go down to the camp with the Hebrews. Maybe he won't get us there. So we got to go. If y'all not going, I'm going. Fine. I'm out of here. Listen. Those among the Egyptians who gave credence to Moses' words and tried to shield their firstborn children from the death sent them to their Hebrew neighbors to spend the fateful night with them in the hope that Yahuwah would exempt the houses of the children of Israel from the plague. But in the morning, when the Israelites arose from their sleep, they found the corpses of the Egyptian fugitives next to them. Oh, there is no escape from you. Even if you are down there among my people, I will be sure to precisely pick you out from among them, and I will kill you there. Oh, let's read that again. What it said. Let me take a sip of water. Okay, y'all, I'm going to quit playing. Those among the Egyptians who gave credence to Moses' words and tried to shield their firstborn children from death sent them to their Hebrew neighbors to spend the fateful night with them in the hope that Yahuwah would exempt the houses of the children of Israel from the plague. But in the morning, when the Israelites arose from their sleep, they found the corpses of the Egyptian fugitives next to them. That was the night in which the Israelites prayed before lying down to sleep. Cause us, O Yahuwah our God, to lie down in peace. Remove Satan from before us and from behind us, and guard our going out and our coming in unto life and unto peace. For it was Satan that had caused frightful bloodshed among the Egyptians. Among the slain there were, besides the Egyptian firstborn, also the firstborn of other nationalities residing in Egypt, as well as the Egyptian firstborn dwelling outside of their own land. Bruh, listen, like, y'all got you everywhere. If you decided, I'm fleeing Egypt, I'm going down here to Timbuktu, he got you there too. That's what he just said. You fleeing over here to the Netherlands, I'm going to get you there too. Everywhere, inside and outside of their land, they got dead. Among the slain, there were, besides the Egyptian firstborn, also the firstborn of other nationalities residing in Egypt. Egypt brought a great terror on all the nations alive during this day. Because of their foolishness, everybody who did not belong to Yah, every nation, all their firstborns died. They all got dead. Among the slain there were, besides the Egyptian firstborn, also the firstborn of other nationalities residing in Egypt, as well as the Egyptian firstborn dwelling outside of their own land. Even the long dead of the firstborn were not spared. The dogs dragged their corpses out of their graves into the houses, for it was the Egyptian custom to enter in for it was the Egyptian custom to inter the dead at home. At the appalling sight, the Egyptians mourned as though the bereavement had befallen them but recently. This said that the dogs went to the graves and drug out firstborns that had already died. The dogs were sent to go get them and pull them into the houses like, bro, you've been dead 40 years. The dogs found you. Like I said, nobody could have executed this with the preciseness that Yahuwah did. So firstborns everywhere were dropping dead, and he even sent the dogs to go get the firstborns who had already died and pulled them in the house like they had died again. The very monuments and statues erected to the memory of the firstborn dead were changed into dust, which was scattered and flew out of sight. Moreover, their slaves had to share the fate of the Egyptians, and no less the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon. For none was so low, but he hated the Hebrews and rejoiced when the Egyptians decreed their persecution. The female slaves that ground corn between millstones were in the habit of saying, "We do not regret our servitude if only the Israelites are gagged too." Oh my gosh. In dealing, everybody hates us, don't they? Just for what? In dealing out punishment to these aliens in the land, Yahuwah showed that he was at once the master of the land and Lord over all the gods of the nations. For if the slaves and the captives of war had not been smitten, they would have said, "Mighty is our God who has helped us in this plague." For the same reason, all the idols of the Egyptians were swept out of existence that night. The stone idols were ground into dust, the wooden idols rotted, and those made of metal melted away. And so the Egyptians were kept from ascribing their chastisement to the wrath of their own gods. Likewise, Yahuwah slew the firstborn of the cattle, for the Egyptians paid worship to animals, and they would have attributed their misfortunes to them. In all these ways, Yahuwah showed them that their gods were but vanity. Oh, okay. We'll read. Then we'll go into volume 3. Okay, we're gonna read these last two small sections, y'all. And this actually ends volume 2. So okay. Okay. So we're gonna read these last two sections right here. The redemption of Israel from Egyptian bondage. Pharaoh rose up in the night.
Mom.
Yes, baby girl. Go ahead. Yes, you can have it. Pharaoh rose up in the night of the smiting of the firstborn. He waited not for the 3rd hour of the morning, when kings usually arise, nor did he wait to be awakened, but he himself roused his slaves from their number and all other Egyptians, and together they went forth to seek Moses and Aaron. He knew that Moses had never spoken an untruth, and as he said, "I will see thy face again no more." You got it? And as he said, "I will see thy face again no more," he could not count upon Moses coming to him. There remained nothing for him to do but to go in search of the Israelite leader. He did not know where Moses lived, and he had great difficulty and lost much time. Okay, don't let it go for the whole minute. You're going to have to stop it when it gets to 30 seconds, okay? All right, stand right there. I'll tell you when to stop it. He did not know where Moses lived, and he had great difficulty and lost much time in looking for his house. For the Hebrew lads, you got 10 seconds. For the Hebrew lads of whom he made inquiries when he met them in the street. In a second, you got 5 seconds, and then you can take it upstairs and go play. All right, stop it. Just open the door. Just open the door. Open it. Open the microwave, girl. Okay. Take it out. He did not know where Moses lived, and he had great difficulty and lost much time in looking for his house. For the Hebrew lads of whom he made inquiries when he met them in the street played practical jokes on him, misdirected him, and led him astray. Thus he wandered about a long time, all while weeping and crying out, "Oh, my friend Moses, pray for me to God." Meanwhile, Moses and Aaron and all Israel beside were at the Passover meal, drinking wine as they had leaned into one side and singing songs in praise to Yah, the Hallel, which they were the first to recite. When Pharaoh finally reached the door of the house wherein Moses abode, he called to him, and from Moses the question came back, "Who art thou, and what is thy name?" "I am Pharaoh, who stands here humiliated." Moses asked again, "Why dost thou come to me thyself? Is it the custom of kings to linger at the doors of common folk?" "I pray thee, my lord," returned Pharaoh, "come forth and intercede for us, else there will not remain a single one being in Egypt. I may not come forth, for Yahuwah hath commanded us, none of you shall go out of the door of this house until morning." But Pharaoh continued to plead, "Do but step to the window and speak to me." And Moses yielded to his importunities and appeared at the window. The king addressed these words to him: "Thou didst say yesterday, all the firstborn in the land of Egypt will die, but now as many as 9/10 of the inhabitants have perished." Pharaoh was accompanied by his daughter Bithiah, Moses' foster mother. She reproached him with ingratitude in having brought down evil upon her and her countrymen. And Moses answered and said, 10 plagues Yahuwah brought upon... Sorry, y'all. And Moses answered and said, 10 plagues Yahuwah brought upon Egypt. Hath evil accrued to thee from any of them? Did one of them affect thee? And when Bithiah acknowledged that no harm had touched her, Moses continued to speak. Although thou art thy mother's firstborn, thou shalt not die, and no evil shall reach thee in the midst of Egypt. But Bithiah said, of what advantage is my security to me when I see the king, my brother, and all his household and his servants in this evil plight, and look upon their firstborn perishing with all the firstborn of Egypt? And Moses returned, verily thy brother and his household and the other Egyptians would not hearken to the words of Yahuwah. Therefore did this evil come upon them. But Bithiah was saved. Remember, she was the one who took care of Moses. She was the one who pulled him out of the water. So Yahuwah kept her alive. Moses loved her. Turning to Pharaoh, Moses said, in spite of all that has happened, I will teach thee something. If thou desirest to learn, and thou wilt be spared, and thou wilt not die, raise thou voice and say, Ye children of Israel, ye are your own masters. Prepare for your journey, and depart from among my people. Hitherto ye were slaves of Pharaoh, but henceforward ye are under the authority of Yahuwah. Serve Yahuwah your God. Moses made him say these words 3 times, and Yahuwah caused Pharaoh's voice to be heard throughout the land of Egypt, so that all the inhabitants and homeborns and the aliens knew that Pharaoh had released the children of Israel from the bondage in which they had languished. And all of Israel sang, Hallelujah. Praise, O ye servants of Yahuwah. Praise the name of Yahuwah. For they belong to Yahuwah, and no more were the servants of Pharaoh. Listen, Yahuwah made Pharaoh's voice to travel something like what we have today, where we have social media. That would have been like social media back in the day, right? Yahuwah made Pharaoh's voice carried throughout all the entire land of Egypt as he repeated these words, and everybody heard it, right? So it's just like now, if there is a message that the president or whoever needs to say, all they simply need to do is have the amplifying voice of the media, and that will be proclaimed throughout all the entire world, and everybody will hear it at the same time. It's the same thing, right? Blessed be the most holy. Hallelujah, praise, O ye servants of Yahuwah, praise the name of Yahuwah, for they belong to Yahuwah, and no more were the servants of Pharaoh. Now the king of Egypt insisted upon their leaving without delay. But Moses, listen to this. But Moses objected and said, are we thieves that we should slink away under the cover of the night? Wait until morning. Remember, listen, oh my gosh. I didn't realize, I knew this was coming up, but I just thought about something, a conversation. And this also, this further teaches us, pay attention, this further teaches us that the day, like in the morning, like sunrise, begins the next day. Like, remember Passover, they ate this Passover thing that was happening, was the evening of the 14th day. What was the 15th day? The very next day began the day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's what it says, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Listen, I'm gonna read this again. Y'all gotta pay attention to these little small things. They pull some of this out, and it leads us to believe, and we get our days mixed up, and they change in times and seasons and stuff, and we all discombobulated because we're missing pieces of information. A lot of people will fight with you unto the death, especially about this. I used to observe it like this as I first was learning, coming into okay, everything, new day, sundown to sundown. But that goes against nature. But Yahuwah only pointed out 2 days. He only pointed out 2 days where we are to straddle the days, right? Where it's 2 days involved. It's Passover and the Day of Atonement. Passover is the evening of the 14th day. The Feast of Unleavened Bread begins the very next day, the 15th day of the month. If you don't understand it there, let's hop over to the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement straddles the 9th and the 10th day. Yahuwah said, start the Day of Atonement on the night before. The nights before, and he calls out the evening of the 9th day. So that would mean that the next day is the 10th. The 10th day is a brand new day. A lot of people, they skirt over this. And you can also go to Numbers chapter 33 and verse 3. And it'll tell you the same thing. Everything, when you see it, you can't unsee it everywhere. You see it everywhere, right? Those are the only 2 days that are straddled between 2 days where it's observed from sundown to sundown. Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the 14th and the 15th day, and the Day of Atonement, which is the 10th day of the 7th month. Yahuwah said, begin it the night before on the evening of the 9th day, right? Okay, listen. Now listen to this. Listen to this about Passover and how we can further see this. Listen. Now the king of Egypt insisted upon their leaving the land without delay. But Moses interjected and said, are we thieves that we should slink away under the cover of the night? Wait until morning. Pharaoh, however, urged and begged Moses to depart, confessing that he was anxious about his own people, for he was a firstborn son, and he was terrified that death would strike him down too. Moses dissipated his alarm, though he substituted a new horror. He said, listen, Pharaoh, you ain't gonna die, but I got something more horrible that's gonna happen to you, so you need to live a little while longer. Listen to this. Pharaoh, however, urged and begged Moses to depart, confessing that he was anxious about his own people, for he was a firstborn son, and he was terrified that death would strike him down too. Moses dissipated his alarm, though he substituted a new horror with the words, fear not, for there is worse in store for thee. Dread seized upon the whole people. Every one of the Egyptians was afraid of losing his life, and they all united their prayers with Pharaoh's and begged Moses to take the Israelites hence. And Yahuwah spake, and ye shall find your end, not here, but in the Red Sea. All right, this is the last section, y'all, the Exodus. All right, Pharaoh and the Egyptians let their dead lie unburied, while they hastened to help the Israelites load their possessions on wagons to get them out of the land with as little delay as possible. When they left, they took with them, beside their own cattle, the sheep and the oxen that Pharaoh had ordered his nobles to give them as presents. The king also forced his magnates to beg pardon of the Israelites for all they had suffered, knowing that as he did, Yahuwah forgives an injury done by man to his fellow only after the wrongdoer has recovered the goodwill of his victim by confessing and regretting his fault. Now depart, said Pharaoh to the Israelites. I want nothing from you but that you should pray to Yahuwah for me, that I may be saved from death. The hatred of the Egyptians toward the Israelites changed now into its opposite. They conceived affection and friendship for them, and fairly forced raiment upon them, and jewels of silver and jewels of gold, to take along with them on their journey, although the children of Israel had not yet returned the articles they had borrowed from their neighbors at an earlier time. This action is in part to be explained by the vanity of Pharaoh and his people. They desired to pretend before the whole world that they were vastly rich, as everybody would conclude when this wealth of their mere slaves was displayed to observers. So he said, you see how rich we are? Look at how well even our slaves are dressed. Indeed, the Israelites bore so much away from Egypt that one of them alone might have defrayed the expense of building and furnishing the temple. Wow. On their leaving the land, only the private wealth of the Egyptians was in their hands. But when they arrived at the Red Sea, they came into possession of the public treasure too. For Pharaoh, like all kings, carried the monies of the state with him on his campaigns, in order to be prepared to hire a relay of mercenaries in case of defeat. Great as the other treasure was, the booty captured at the Red Sea far exceeded it. But if the Israelites loaded themselves down with goods and jewels and money, it was not to gratify love of riches, or, as a usurer might say, because they coveted their neighbor's possessions. In the first place, they could look upon their plunder as wages due to them for those they had long served, and secondly, they were entitled to retaliate on those at whose hands they had suffered wrong, even when they were requiting them with an infliction far slighter than any of all they had endured themselves. The plagues did not stay the cruelty of the Egyptian oppressors toward the Hebrews. It continued unabated until the very end of their sojourn in the land. On the day of the Exodus, Rachel, the daughter of Shuthelah, gave birth to a child. While she and her husband together were treading the clay for bricks, the babe dropped from her womb in the clay and sank out of sight. Gabriel appeared, molded a brick out of the clay containing the child, and carried it to the highest of heavens, where he made it a footstool before the divine throne. And that night it was that Yahuwah looked upon the suffering of Israel and smote the firstborn of the Egyptians. And it was one of the 4 nights that Yahuwah has inscribed in the Book of Memorial. The first of the 4 is that in which Yahuwah appeared to create the world. All was waste and void, and darkness brooded over the abyss, until Yahuwah came and spread light round about by his words. The second night is that in which Yahuwah appeared unto Abraham at the covenant of the pieces. And the third night he appeared in Egypt, slaying the firstborn of the Egyptians with his right hand, and protecting the firstborn of Israel with his left. The fourth night recorded will be that which in the end of the redemption will be accomplished, when the iron yoke of the wicked kingdom will be broken, and the evildoers will be destroyed. And that's the day we are awaiting on. That's the final one, and we're going to get to see that. Yah willing, we're going to get to see that. Then Moses will come from the desert, and the Messiah from Rome, each at the head of his flock, and the word of Yahuwah will mediate between them, causing both to walk with one accord in the same direction. Israel's redemption in future days will happen on the 15th day of Nisan, the night of Israel's redemption from Egypt. For thus did Moses say, in this night Yahuwah protected Israel against the angels of destruction, and in this night he will also redeem the generations of the future. And I mentioned this before, and this is how we know that the set day for Israel's deliverance in previous times and also to come will be on a Passover. It was set that way from the beginning. So when we are delivered, it will be on a Passover, and it's going to be just as glorious as it was this time. We just don't know what year, but we do know it will be a Passover. So it will behoove you to begin keeping Yahuwah's commands, so you're not swept away by all the things that happen. Remember, it wasn't just the Egyptians that died. It was the hard-headed rebels among us that also met their death, and they did not get to walk out of the bondage, right? Though the actual deliverance of Israel took place in that night, the Hebrews did not leave the land until the following day. During the same night, Yahuwah requited the Egyptians for their evil deeds in the sight of all the people, the night being as bright as day at the time of the summer solstice. No one could escape the general chastisement, for by a divine decision, none was absent from home at that time, so none could fail to see the chastisement. All right. I mean, everybody needs to be at their own place on Passover. When we have a Passover, everybody should be at their own homes before the sun goes down, right? The angel, we almost done, y'all. We got a few more sentences. Well, it's like a little paragraph, and we'll be done. The angels in heaven learned what was happening. I'm sorry, hold on. Let me go back up. During the same night, Yahuwah requited the Egyptians for their evil deeds in the sight of all the people, the night being as bright as the day at the time of the summer solstice. No one could escape the general chastisement, for by divine dispensation none was absent from home at the time, so none could fail to see the chastisement. The angels in heaven learned what was happening on the earth. When they were about to begin their song of praise to Yahuwah, he silenced them with these words, my children on earth are singing now. And the celestial host had to stop and listen to the songs of Israel. Remember, we talked about this before, that Yahuwah silences the angels when his children begin to sing. He said, shh, Israel is singing. Everybody listen to them. Listen. The angels in heaven learned what was happening on earth, and when they were about to begin their song of praise to Yahuwah, he silenced them with the words, my children on earth are singing now. And the celestial host had to stop and listen to the song of Israel. Great as the joy of the Hebrews was at their deliverance from the Egyptian bondage, it was exceeded by that of Pharaoh's people at seeing their slaves depart. For with them went the dread of death that had obsessed them. They were like the portly gentleman riding an ass. The rider feels uncomfortable and longs for the moment of alighting, but his longing cannot compare in the intensity with that of the ass groaning under the corpulent burden. And when their journey's end is reached, the ass rejoices more than his master. So the Egyptians were happier to be rid of the Hebrews than these were to be free. In general, the Israelites were not in a joyous mood. The strength of men is readily exhausted. Y'all. If y'all got this book, highlight this. Listen to this. I can see this among our people. Hold up. Hold on. My eyes just glanced real quick. Listen to this. Listen. It said, in general, the Israelites were not in a joyous mood. The strength of men is readily exhausted, mentally and physically, by the strain of a sudden change from slavery to freedom. They did not recover vigor and force until they heard the angel host sing song of praise and joy over the redemption of Israel and the redemption of the Shekinah. For so long as the chosen people is in exile. What are you doing? You keep bumping the table. Stop. Listen. For so as long as the chosen people is in exile, The Shekinah who dwells among Israel is also, as it were, in exile. So the glory of Yahuwah, we get glimpses of it when Yahuwah show up when we begin to praise. But remember, we read all the way back here. The more Israel began to sin, the Shekinah, the tangible presence of the Most Holy, began to take herself back up to heaven until she reached the seventh heaven, and that's where she will reside until Yahuwah permanently joins us back together with that tangible presence. Y'all better let that sink deep in your spirits. Listen. They did not recover vigor and force until they heard the angel host singing songs of praise and joy over the redemption of Israel and the redemption of the Shekinah. For so long as the chosen people is in exile, and we are in exile again, for so as long as the chosen people is in exile, the Shekinah who dwells among Israel is also, as it were, in exile. At the same time, Yahuwah caused the earth to exhale and send aloft a healing fragrance which cured them of all their diseases. So after they came out, the Shekinah came back and he began to heal them, just like he said he was going to do again. And when he regathers us the second time, y'all, I'm so overjoyed about this. The exodus of the Israelites began at Ramses, and although the distance from there to the city Mizraim, where Moses' abode, was a 40 days journey, yet they heard the voice of their leader urging them to leave the land. They covered the distance from Ramses to Succoth, a 3 days march, in an instant. In Succoth, Yahuwah enveloped them in 7 clouds of glory, 4 hovering in front, behind, and at the 2 sides of them, 1 suspended above them to keep off rain, hail, and the rays of the sun, and 1 under them to protect them against thorns and snakes. The 7th cloud preceded them and prepared the way for them, exalting the valleys and making low every mountain and hill. Thus they wandered through the wilderness for 40 years. In all that time, no artificial lighting was needed. A beam from the celestial cloud followed them into the darkest chambers. And if one of the people had to go outside of the camp, even thither he was accompanied by a fold of the cloud, covering and protecting him, only that a difference might be made between day and night. A pillar of fire took the place of the cloud in the evening. Never for an instant were the people without the one or the other to guide them. The pillar of fire glowed in front of them before the pillar of cloud retired. In the morning, the cloud was there before the fire vanished. The clouds of glory and the pillar of fire were sent for protection of it. Oh, listen to this. Listen. The clouds of glory and the pillar of fire were sent for the protection of Israel alone, for none besides, not for the heathen and not for the mixed multitude that went up with them. These had to walk outside of the cloud enclosure. Bruh, that just blew my mind. When I read this the first time, I paused for a second and I was in tears. Listen. Even the mixed crowd, all of those who were not Israel, although Yahuwah had mercy and grace on them. Just think about stuff now, guys. We literally got like 4 sentences left, but let me just say this real quick, right? Think about, how we got all this thing going on with the whole, the everything that's happened to our people and the Black Lives Matter and all this stuff. And it's like different nations, those people that aren't necessarily like against us, but they're joining with us. It's actually other nations that actually love Yahuwah's people, right? Listen. So say those people who come out of captivity, who choose of their own free will to leave with us, when we come out of captivity, they're considered the stranger and the sojourner among us, right? And it's a mixture of them. It's a mixed crowd. They're called the mixed crowd and a stranger and a sojourner among us, right? But the children of Israel, the children of Jacob were the only ones. They were the only ones in need of that healing, because remember, they had been They had been abused and mutilated and taken advantage of and raped and pillared. It was only them that had need of at that moment of being enwrapped and folded in the glory and the healing presence of the Most High, right? Listen, it's just like just like that thing, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, right? Don't drag me, y'all. Listen to the example I'm trying to give y'all, right? And some people that truly do not understand our plight because they don't have that experience in life. They cannot comprehend it. They can see and they can empathize with us, but they do not understand because they've never been us. So they don't know. They've only heard, but it's never been their experience to experience what we've experienced because of who we are, right? Listen. And it said that all of them, although they empathize with us and they love us, they had to walk outside of the cloud because our house was on fire. Like our house in the neighborhood, Yahuwah was attending the house that was on fire. But all houses matter. Yes, all houses matter, but this house is on fire. This is the house that I need to attend to right now. Not that I'm ignoring you because you do matter, but my immediate attention requires me to attend and focus only on this house. This house is on fire. We need to put this fire out in this house. And just like that, only the children of Israel, only the 12 tribes, the sons and daughters of Jacob were allowed to walk in the cloud. And the mixed crowd, they came along, but they had to follow along, and then they walked outside of the Shekinah, right? They walked outside. Not that they were not taken care of, because they absolutely were. Yahuwah looked out for them as well. But they walked outside of the cloud because all their life, they got to live in this privilege, and they could walk around freely. Not so Yahuwah's people. He said, you're okay. You can come with us, but you need to stay out here. But they need to walk in the midst of this. We need to be having some family meetings. You know how you call a family meeting, even if you got people that may be staying, they're not privy to the family meetings. No, just family. We need to. So that's what was happening here. Okay, y'all, let me read these last couple sentences, but I really just wanted to say that. Okay, listen. Thus they wandered through the wilderness for 40 years. In all that time, no artificial lighting was needed. A beam from the celestial cloud followed them into the darkest of chambers. And if one of the people had to go outside of the camp, even thither he was accompanied by a fold of the cloud, covering and protecting him. Only that a difference might be made between the day and the night, a pillar of fire took the place of the cloud in the evening. Never for an instant were the people without the one or the other to guide them. The pillar of fire glowed in front of them before the pillar of cloud retired, and in the morning the cloud was there before the fire vanished. The clouds of glory and the pillar of fire were sent for the protection of Israel alone, for none besides, not for the heathen and not for the mixed multitude that went up with them. These had to walk outside of the cloud enclosure. The cavalcade consisted of 600,000 heads of families afoot, each accompanied by 5 children on horseback, and these must be added to the mixed multitude, exceeding the Hebrews vastly in number. So profound was Israel's trust in Yahuwah that they followed Moses unmurmuringly into the wilderness without supplying themselves with provisions. They only had edibles that they took, that were the remains of the unleavened bread and the bitter herbs. Yes, baby girl.
My nose running.
Go get some tissue. Okay. The only edibles they took were the remains of the unleavened bread and the bitter herbs, and these not to satisfy their hunger, but because they were unwilling to separate themselves from what they had prepared lovingly at the command of Yahuwah. These possessions were so dear to them that they would not entrust them to the beasts of burden. They carried them on their own shoulders. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. And that's actually the end of volume 2. So we're going to pick it back up tomorrow. And it's going to, I'll read y'all the preface tomorrow. And then we'll start reading. And this third volume is Exodus through Jethro. And it's just as good, y'all, because y'all gonna see some of the deeper things that happened in here and the shenanigans that our people pulled and is still pulling today out here. and why they were in the wilderness, y'all. So I'm about to read the blessing, but just a quick recap. It is Tuesday, January the 19th, 2021. Day 55 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and prophets. When I say year 3, that means this is the third time we are going through consecutively, back to back, just reading the words of the Most High. And all those days together, the 3-year consecutive day count is day 724. And this count is only for the days we read. I'm not counting in this count the days that we rest on the Sabbath, or the feast days that are considered Sabbath days where we rest. So those days are not counted in this. All right, y'all. So we read Exodus 37, 38, and 39. And in the Legends of the Jews, we read page 239 to page 243. All right, y'all. So let's hop over here to the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. She just wiped her nose on me. I didn't see that. She did. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this video. She probably did. Ooh, Tootie baby. Oh my gosh. Listen, when she said she needed to wipe her nose, I glanced at the nose. Nothing was on her nose, but she probably did. Knowing her, and I just didn't catch it because I was so busy talking. Forgive the shenanigans that y'all see. Okay. All right. The blessing. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. That is our reading for today, and we are out of here. I will see y'all bright and early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.